Overcomers series, Season 3 is brought to you by Jonil Alcock, MBF Group Limited, Scripture Trinkets by AP. We see each other many times by our titles, careers, or how we look physically. But behind each face, there's a story to tell about triumph over trial. We can also learn how God has brought us to where we are by His supreme grace and goodness. Let's explore the lives and testimonies of some amazing humans on the Overcomers series. This week on the Overcomers series.
Welcome to another episode of the Overcomers series. And beside me right here tonight, I have a great brother of mine, Lij Smith, otherwise known as Legitimate Online. And I caught him. Oh, geez, it was so difficult to get him because he's so busy. Much of a laugh. But I got him. And now he is just going to talk to us tonight about a few things in relation to him being a Jamaican working abroad, as well as some of the projects he's been doing creatively and how he's been managing to do that. Lij, what's going on, man?
I'm good. What's up, Janil? And I am very excited to be talking to you. As you mentioned, we've been brothers for quite a while. I think about even my teenage stage to now, and I think you don't look much older, but I definitely look very, very old. But I'm okay. I'm in good spirits. I hope everything is all right with you.
Everything is good with me, my brother. We're the denomination that we both attend, the United Church in Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, is where we know each other from. And as Lij rightly said, I knew him from when he was high. And just to see him grow to improve his skill, especially in media and communication, and a lot of the various artistic and creative things he's been able to do is amazing. If people don't know, a lot of his singing talent came from while he was at church, just doing stuff with the choir and sometimes leading praise and worship. And now he has progressed to do so many more things, don't it, Lij?
I could say so. in a way.
So tell the people a little bit about yourself. There'll be some people who tune in and don't know Legitimate from Jamaica. Tell them who Legitimate is.
All right, cool. So as Johnny said, my name is Lij Smith. I'm 28. Grew up as a church boy, in Jamaica, humble beginnings, not necessarily the story of, mother never have anything or whatever, but it was a case where we grew up in, Hellshire, middle class community, but things weren't always the best. But one thing I can say is that I had a mother who was absolutely amazing. Johnny can attest to that. And so she raised me into a very fine home. And I think these are the things that I will forever take with me to do what I am doing today. So just giving back to my community just as she has given to me. I'm in education in Japan. I'm also doing music here. And as Johnny mentioned, I also do media. So that's just a nutshell of what I'm doing at this point.
But you cut the story short, brother, because you need to tell them now how you started to train to be a media and communication specialist. And then how did you end up from Jamaica, and he's actually in Japan, guys, to end up to working abroad?
Okay, great. So at the age of 4, I knew I wanted to do media because I went to this school for gifted children as a child. And because my mother thought that, this boy has an exceptional brain. And, at in grade 1, I was 4 years old. But I particularly remembered always seeing people on television like Smile Jamaica, see them at sunrise. And I always wanted to be like them. I didn't necessarily know what it was, but there was something about it that was always captivating. I remember waking up in the mornings and her having to rush me to eat faster just to go to school. But I was just glued to the TV. I saw them having fun. I saw them, in Jamaican term, running a lot of jokes. But for me, I just saw it as a dream and not necessarily a job. So fast forward now, of course, everybody goes through the stage of wanting to be a pediatrician or a psychiatrist, or when somebody asks what you want to be, you just find the biggest word because, of course, that was what was cool. But after considering playing tennis, because I did play tennis in high school, after failing accounts in high school, I realized that my real passion was to just go back to what I started with, and that was journalism. So I started journalism school, big up Karimak at UA, and I did a degree there, Bachelor of Arts in Journalism. Started doing television even before I graduated, and I did advertisements and stuff. So it was fun, but it wasn't rewarding. And of course, apart from me being a small fry just starting out in the industry, there are so many politics and things that would have happened to me, so many things that I didn't believe in at the time. Of course, being a part of the media fraternity, also thinking about how you have to go to church, but then at the same time, you have to go to carnival to do coverage and all of those things. So it was a lot of trying to balance who I was at the time. And I realized that eventually, as much as it would seem as if I was living the life on television, it never felt like it was me at the time. And so I got the opportunity, well, actually saw an opportunity to take up a job in Japan. At the time, I was working, just doing freelancing stuff. And I said, the time has come, Lij. You really need to start picking up and doing something, not only for you, but for your family. As somebody who is way older than my brothers, I just thought that I had to be some form of role model, and staying home and just doing gigs was not enough. And so that's when I applied and I was successful. People say it's one of the hardest programs to get into, but for me, I never really think limits in that way. And I will always root it back to my mother's training for me to always believe that things are possible. And even, of course, church, you learn every Sunday that all things are possible. And so I applied, and in one of 23 people, I was accepted that year. And so since then, it's been a very wonderful and rewarding experience, pretty much. So that's how I moved from media to education in a nutshell.
Yeah, and most people would look at it as kind of a dichotomous trip from one thing to the next. But they both have similar needs for base skills, which is to speak
absolutely.
and to learn how to communicate.
Right. And also the knack for always informing. So people always say to me, why did you do education? That's just so weird. And I'm like, did you realize that, or do you even realize that media practitioners, journalists, announcers, these are people who tell you things that you may not have known, or tell you things that you may not be able to access or see with the naked eye. And so I don't know. I feel like every day I'm in the classroom, it's still almost as if I am a journalist, showing students and even teachers and my peers are like, different perspectives in life, which is what is most important. I feel like my life is about service, and I did not come here just for me alone. So every information I know and I get to transfer to somebody else makes me feel fulfilled. And that's why I like education so much.
Yeah. And moving abroad and doing some things there, as well as trying to sort out life with your family and ensure they're okay, must have been challenging. We'll get to that after the next commercial break.
Oh, man. All right.
Show them something here, so now. How do I say soon come in Japan, in Japanese?
Okay, now you put me on the spot. How you say, soon come, like see you later or see you soon, is matane.
Matane.
All right, matane.
In a minute. After the next commercial break. Matane.
Scripture Trinkets by AP for all your unique tokens and gifts. Check out our line of car trinkets, keyring trinkets, fridge magnets, Christmas ornaments, custom trinkets and plaques, and much more. Go ahead, pick the perfect gift and share the word boldly.
Welcome back to another episode of the Overcomers series. And I'm seated here with the brilliant and vivacious and everything in between, Lij T, who most people know online as Legitimate. And he's such a creative person who started out in media and trained as such, but has now progressed to do a lot of things in education because he's abroad in Japan working as a teacher. So tell us now, tell us a little bit more about the JET program, what it entails, so people who may want to do some things like this have the information.
So I said I had applied to the JET program in 2019, and JET program means Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. So it's a program that is run by the government. It's actually a partnership between Jamaica and Japan because, of course, the Jamaica-Japan bond is strengthening day by day. And so it's enabling us to come from a third world country. It's actually maybe one of the very few third world countries allowed to come to teach a first world country English. And so for us to do that, we would have had to apply through the embassy. I think it's on NCB, that gold tower near Oxford Road. You have to apply. It is between the months of September to November every year. And you apply. It may be a very long process, but it's quite doable, especially if you want to come to Japan for reasons that are personal, whether it be you wanting to see the world from a different perspective, you want to experience the unique culture that is Japan, or you even want to just find your niche and find whatever works for you in education. So if you want to apply, you can go to the NCB Towers, or you can go on the website, just type in JET Jamaica or the Japan Embassy in Jamaica, and the application will be there. Exactly.
I'll put the link for JET somewhere below us streaming here, and any other information may just pop up periodically or maybe at the end of the program in relation to how to apply. But apart from that, what are they looking for in their teachers, and how is it that they then make this final selection for the person who they say is more appropriate to go over to Japan as a teacher?
That's actually a very good question, because a lot of people tend to think that when you are applying to be a teacher, you have to have a teacher's degree. Now, if you're listening earlier in the interview, I have a journalism degree. So, of course, that's not a requirement. So what they do require is for people to have a clean record, because, of course, if we're coming in a new country, they want to know that they can at least vouch for your persona. Also, they want to know that you have a very good command of the English language. And so we are required to write an essay as to why we want to come. By the way, this requires no money to travel. I actually came here free of cost. And it is not a scam, because I've been an advocate for the last 3 years. And sometimes people are in this belief that it's something that you can do with less than $200. It's not something you apply for, that you have to pay for. Also, they want to know that you are very personable, because, of course, these children need you to be their window to the Western world. Japan, culturally and historically, has been a country that has been closed, whether it is to foreigners or trading. They were actually closed for a good better half of one of the centuries some time ago, and so they're quite behind. So they need people who are willing to help, and people who are also willing to respect and love their culture, because they actually take their culture to heart.
And you said there is no cost to apply, and that the JET program or the organizers allow the person to travel on their expense to Japan to start the teaching, correct?
Absolutely. So for me, when I applied, I sent my essay, and then in the second stage, they asked me to speak on who I am based on an interview, and they wanted things like your involvement in community. And so I had to mention that I did a lot of things in church. I had to mention that apart from that, I was very charity oriented. And of course, my experience in media, I guess, would have boosted that as well. And they just gave me my e-visa after about 4 to 5 months, and I was on my way with a group of people. So it wasn't me alone.
Yeah. That's brilliant. So now comes the harder part. You've gone to Japan. How long do they allow you to stay as a teacher? One, and two, how do you now integrate into society? Do they give you a specific accommodation that they help you help to pay for? Um, who allocates where you go? Do you shift from one school to the next over semesters to get different training? How is it that you teach English and you necessarily don't know Japanese and stuff like that?
All right, so a lot has changed during the pandemic as it relates to these questions, but I'll tell you what it was when I was there and what it is now. Basically, try to make it as compact as possible. So when I came, I was assigned a supervisor, but this was from my school. By the way, you know which school you're going to before you land in Japan. So the moment they get the results and they say that you have been successful in the interview to come, they will tell you that you're going to this part. So whether it is Tokyo or Osaka or Hiroshima or Nagasaki, these are the popular places in Japan I mentioned it, but
Yes.
you can go to other places. And then your supervisor will meet you after some orientation in Tokyo. And they are basically indebted to you, kind of. Well, not really indebted, but they make it their duty to make sure that you're okay for about a month or two. So they'll take you around, they'll try to sort out your living expenses, try to sort out your banking, they sort out your Wi-Fi. Because of course, when you're coming all the way from Jamaica to a country that's 14 hours ahead, the first thing you want to do is to, hey, I need to message my family and get back. So they try to keep you in contact with them as soon as possible. And so they also support you in the classes. So as much as I'm not fluent in Japanese at all, there's always a situation where a Japanese teacher is there with you. So the point is, you're a language teacher, but you're really there to assist. Depending on your personality, they may ask you to lead the class and they will be the one to support you in the event, because I've had experiences where they gave me autonomy. I basically run my classes, my students, while their English is not good, they can understand me and they will support me in the event that they cannot. So I know a lot of people think, oh, this is scary because you're coming to a country where the language is totally different. Because I mean, hey, how many Jamaicans speak Japanese? Not many. But you'll always have the support. And even if you don't have the support of your teachers as much, there is also a very large Jamaican contingent here. It's about 1,000 Jamaicans overall in Japan. And it's not just the JET program only. There are programs that you can actually sign up for throughout the year. The JET program one is just known as the elite one. So it's once a year because the numbers are much shorter. But of course, you have different programs that will make you come faster. So that's pretty much it.
You know what else the people want to know, Lich?
What?
Go on with the money. Or you get some payments. You do this something thing, bro.
Johnny, lad, I borrow some money from you right now. You see, you look sharp in your suit. But
Oh
I
gosh.
think that but Japan is actually a country. They say that the dollar is always stable. It's not much different from the Jamaican currency, in my opinion, because I think it's almost like maybe 130 to 1 to the US dollars. But you can see where your money is going in Japan for sure. Also, for my program, a lot of things are subsidized. So my rent is cheap. I don't have to pay for a lot of things, but it's because it's the government program. So I always tell people it may be the most difficult program to apply for to many, but it's also the most rewarding to me. So, yeah, if you really want some financial help, because a lot of people have come here also to, pay their bills. A lot of people came here and within 3-4 months, they're able to pay off their student loans. They're able to help their mothers. They're able to become the breadwinner after being dependent all their life. I mean, I am perfect example of that.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible to come here and make some good dough.
Yeah, Lich. Whoever listening, especially if you're from Jamaica, and I'm sure, Lich, that there are persons from other countries, because Japan is kind of trying to integrate and get assistance, who have come similarly as teachers or tradesmen. Please, and this is streaming not just in Jamaica and the Caribbean, reach out to your embassies, find out details, and see how it is that you can go to the different parts of the world, not just Japan, and offer your assistance for the skills that you have. Lij started out in a kind of a different way and then veered into education. But maybe it is that a country needs nurses or doctors, whatever it is. Use your skills, use your talents, and don't be afraid to explore the regions of the world. The world is a lot more connected now than it has ever been because of the power of the internet. This program is a perfect example. Persons from Ghana, different parts of the North American region, the Caribbean, Nigeria, even Middle East have reached out to me because of this program. So note who you are and what you are capable of. Lij said earlier that he always went to church and heard that you can do all things. That's Philippians 4:13, which says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So know who you are, what you're capable of, and move in your environment as such. Before we go to our next set of breaks commercially, Lij, tell me now, how are you able to adapt to a new culture? And tell us a little bit about Japan and what happens over there, and what things shocked you when you went over there.
Janil, I think it comes down to personality and your will to do what you want to do, because I will always remind people, your end goal is supposed to be the reason you do what you do. I know sometimes we do things on a daily basis, and I've had my fair share of that by just doing things day by day. But then, as I said, I wanted to be intentional. And so when I got the opportunity to come here, my wish and my dream for myself was, no matter what would happen, I would have a tunnel vision. And so I said that to say, a lot of people come and think that, oh, because it's a first world country, because it's the grand Japan that people will always revel in when they watch the anime and when they see the culture and when they see the fanfare. It's not always like that. There are times when you really require some personal guts to get by. Some days it may be a place where you don't have to worry about certain things, for example, crime, or it may not be a case where you have to worry about the availability of certain resources. But at the same time, even with the presence of that, you can sometimes feel very low. And so I said that to say, sometimes the language barrier will frustrate you. Sometimes how the Japanese people do their things will frustrate you, because Jamaicans and even people all over the world, maybe we'll be a bit more faster in how we do things, but Japanese people are very meticulous. And so something that you think that can probably take 10 minutes in your country or 15 minutes will probably take a week in Japan, because they want to get it done the Japanese way, and they want to get it done perfectly, because for them it's precision, over everything. But it definitely is something that teaches you certain skills. So I was saying to somebody yesterday that one thing Japan has taught me is to be, less fussy over things. It has taught me to be more patient. It has
Mm.
taught me to be more understanding of people, because when you're from a different culture and you come here, a lot of times people tend to want to judge why people do what they do, but then remember that they would probably come into your country and think that you're also strange. And so you have
Mhm.
to consider that people are very different everywhere you go. One of the things that was different for me was when I just stepped into the airport and I saw the toilet. I wanted to use the bathroom after a 14-hour flight. And when I looked, I was looking for a regular Western toilets, which there are Western toilets in Japan. But when I looked, I couldn't see the toilet in my peripheral view. And I looked down and I realized that the toilet was in the floor. And so you had to bend down and squat, because once again, Japan likes to promote health and they believe that squatting is the way. So that was one of the strangest things. Another thing that was strange to me, and I really don't mean to offend anyone, which is in a good way, the customer service. I've been to countries after this, Janil, several countries after
Mm.
Japan, and I've never seen another country with such pristine customer service. It doesn't even matter if they like you or not, they make it their duty to make you feel like you're welcome. And when I tell you that after 3 years, this is something that I've never had an issue with, I'm really hoping that wherever I go to next, I'll be able to experience this same perfect streak. Also, how apologetic people are is something that I am very surprised by. So they literally tell you sorry for something that you did, and so it's almost as if I am in a world where people worship me instead. So these are the things that I look at, and I realize that it's so much different from anywhere that I've been, and it's just really interesting. And so, some people may look at it and think, "Wow, coming here to work, is a lot of stress. I can't bother the language, whatever." But the skills that I've learned here, the things that I've done here, trust and believe. I will say that this is the best part of my life so far, but I'm not giving it all of it right now. But yeah.
Reach out to MBF Group Limited, owners and operators of Ferron's exquisite photo studio and business services for all your photography and videography needs. They're the best for your weddings, graduations, and funerals. They also design and print business cards, flyers, invitations, and personalized items such as t-shirts, cups, and logo stitches. Reach out to Marshala Brown Ferron on 876-327-8912.
But Lij, you mentioned the culture shocks, but how has being in a foreign country challenged you? As well as how do you think it may have even changed you?
Right. So I just mentioned the language barrier. So the first thing was how challenging it was, after being a social butterfly in my
Mhm.
home country where pretty much people know who I am, to coming here and no one knows who I am. I think it was very humbling, but at the same time it was very frustrating because there's some things that you could have gotten by with your name or just with the people but here you start from scratch. But even in that, it has helped me because it really reminds you that as much as you are a special person, everyone is special. There's nothing too special about you that makes you feel that you have to be preferred over anybody else. So coming here and being able to fit in the mold was something that was challenging at in the beginning, but it's something that I actually am appreciative of now. It has helped me to be grounded. It has helped me to it has reminded me that every single thing that I want, or most things that I want, or if I go anywhere else, things are not handed to me. With the grace of God, of course, you are going to make your supplication known to Him and make your prayers known, but at the same time, you're going to have to get up and get it done. So these are the things that I've learned in Japan. There's no more mommy, there's no more daddy here. You have to get it. And so that's exactly what I did.
Boy, Lij, yeah, tell the people, because if it is that you get up sometime and get some things done, um, the life that you want may just pass you by. God does help you, and there are some waiting periods of your life that you have to go through, like you did, trying to finish your degree as well as then finding what to do after. But then after you've reached places, you try to adapt to whatever you've been given and make the best of it through the abilities that God has given you. And this is something that challenges many people. You mentioned the language barrier, but if you weren't a God-breathed, very energetic man, you probably would have just given up and said, "Chuck, yeah, brother,"
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
left it and come back home. But obviously, you haven't. Yeah. Tell me something. What sort of food you like over there? You laugh. I don't say laugh.
Because when people ask me this question in
Yeah.
interviews, I'm always so excited for the reactions. Typically, I will cook Jamaican food because the next thing about traveling is that as much as sometimes you'll be in Jamaica or wherever you are, and you will say, "Oh, I can't wait to leave," when you go to these places, you realize that they don't do the food like your home country would do it. And so, in order to be connected to your culture, a lot of times you will tend to turn your hand and make fashion. So I've seen myself make some things that I'd never imagined making in Jamaica. But let's talk about Japanese food. I've come here and I've enjoyed eel. They call eel unagi.
What?
Eel is very tasty. Love it. Actually, Japan loves doing this, by the way. That is so
Oh,
funny.
what does that mean in Japan?
Yeah, it's a very Japanese sign. But
Oh, okay.
eel, they even where I live in Japan, they created a eel soda. So if you want to drink healthy drink, you can drink eel juice.
What what do they say is in the eel that makes it healthy?
I have no idea. I just eat it. I don't even do the research, which I probably should do.
Wow.
Another thing that Japan has made me fall in love with is octopus and squid, or they are octopus and
Seafood
squid.
stuff.
Yeah, it's really nice. And I feel like Japan, their food is a bit healthier than Western world because they are more organic in a lot of ways because they grow most of their stuff, especially because where I'm from a farming area, so most of the produce are quite natural, like literally from farm to supermarket. And so I trust these things. So you'll have maybe an octopus farm, your fish farm, or whatever, and I'll have food from here. And not really too versed on the sushi. I'll actually eat tuna sushi because I'm used to tuna from Jamaica, but the raw fish and whatever, I'll have it socially. And I say that because sometimes you have to, I wouldn't say be uncomfortable, but sometimes you have to remember that you're not home and you just have to immerse yourself in the culture. So as much as I don't love sushi, it's something that once my coworkers are eating, I'll also say, hey, I'll have it as well, just to show some respect because they're always showing respect for me. So these are some of the foods that I like: eel, octopus, squid, and what else do I eat here? Ramen. Japanese ramen is different from the ramen that we're used to in the Western world. So it's quite interesting for the many flavors they have.
They have different flavors of this thing.
Oh yeah, thousands of ramen, like different ramen, different names of ramen noodles. Also different ways in which it's prepared. They even have one where you bite it and it crunches. So it's like it's not boiled. You just eat it almost raw. So the things that we
Like
do
potato
here,
chips or something.
yeah, almost like that. But it's almost like if you were to eat macaroni from the craft box without cooking it.
What?
Yeah. So, and people enjoy it. People enjoy it, and it's not something that I enjoyed, but it's something that I tried. You know, because I feel like if you come to a country that you probably never will visit again after you leave, you never want to say I never did it. You know, you want to say that you've tried it all, you've done it all. You know, God send you come over here. Never send you come over here to come just eat stew peas and oxtail. You come over here for flourish and do whatever. If he wanted you to stay in your own corner, it would have make you stay. But of course, him send you out to be fruitful and multiply your experiences. So
Yeah, man. And the more experiences that we get, the more it is that we learn more about our fellow man.
Here's what's coming up next. On the Overcomers series, Season 3, I have overcome the world.
back to your question, I try to level up. And I don't know the exact term, but it's something that says you never really know your potential until you get in hot water, until your back is against the wall. And I feel like every single time that I'm about to say this is it, this is a wrap, I am coming home, I just level up. I find something else. And I know it's not just me. I know it must be God, you know? So it's something that I've never, ever really thought of doing because in church, for those who don't know, I used to sing a lot, minister a lot, performed at many places. I actually was even a part of a group that was planning to do music professionally, but I just never felt that the time was the time. And so every single time I was asked to do it, I used to say no.
Join us next week for another inspiring and thought-provoking discussion. And remember, you are an overcomer because Jesus said, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world."